Hello and welcome to today's video. I have not had my fringe cut, therefore I feel very bald, so I'm wearing my hat. But that is not the point of this video. The point of this video is that I'm going to teach you fundamentals to fat loss and how to lose body fat. And these were my results from last year. When I started my dieting phase here, I was around 70 kilos on this photo. And then I ended my dieting phase here. I was around 60 kilos on this photo. So in today's video, I will grab my whiteboard and just kind of talk you through the fundamentals of fat loss. And these are the things that I want all of you to understand if you ever have a goal of losing body fat. So let's get into today's video. The first and the most important thing when in a dieting phase and when focusing on fat loss is calorie deficit. So you have to be in a calorie deficit if your goal is to lose body fat. No calorie deficit, no fat loss. How to achieve a calorie deficit? You have to eat below your maintenance calories. I will attach a photo of the TDEE here on the screen so that you can see what a TDEE is and what it consists of. So energy in versus energy out, calories in versus calories out. You have to be in a calorie deficit if your goal is to lose body fat. How to achieve that and how to make sure that you are in a calorie deficit will be by tracking your calories and your macros. And you can check the first video that I posted about tracking calories and making sure that you understand the fundamentals of fat loss. So no calorie deficit, no fat loss. That is the number one and the most important thing if your goal is to lose body fat, to be in a calorie deficit. Then the second point that I put here is to have regular protein feedings, which means that you spread your protein intake evenly throughout the day. This is going to help with preserving your muscle mass in a deficit and with ensuring that you don't feel hungry when you are in a deficit and that we optimize muscle protein synthesis. So I would recommend 4 to 5 meals per day, protein feedings per day. Base your meals around your protein, around the protein source, and then add carbs and fats to your meals, of course. But have 4 to 5 protein feedings per day, around 30 to 35 grams of protein, to make sure that you don't feel hungry, to make sure that you preserve all of your muscle mass, and to make sure that you have a successful dieting phase. And how to set up your macros is all explained in the first video that I posted, so you can check that video out as well. But step number 1, calorie deficit. Step number 2, regular protein feeding. Then here are some basic nutritional, I wouldn't say rules, but kind of guidelines that I always give to my clients. So no fasted training. You want to make sure that you eat something before you train. If you train really early in the morning, have something like a rice cake and a drizzle of honey, anything just to break the fast. And then you want to always have carbs pre-workout to maximize your performance at the gym, because when you are dieting and when you are in a calorie deficit, you still want to focus on progressive overload and you still want to focus on having enough energy to fuel your sessions. So, and to hit PBs, you know, at the end of your training phase, on week 2, week 3, week 4, and so on, to always focus on progressive overload. So don't train fasted and have some carbs pre-workout. And then we have protein and fiber for satiety. So as I already mentioned, having regular protein feedings is super important when in a deficit. Even when building muscle and reversing, the nutritional guidelines are always more or less the same. But have protein and make sure that you have enough fiber for satiety. So when it comes to fiber, you want to have around 15 grams of fiber per 1000 calories that you consume. So I would aim for anywhere between 25, even 40 grams of fiber per day when dieting. Fiber is very good, but eating too much fiber can make you feel very heavy and constipated and bloated. So yes, 100% have fiber and track your fiber as well, but just don't overdo it, because I used to overdo it in the past and it didn't end up well. And then another kind of, not a rule, but just general guidance is not eating too close to your bedtime, just to make sure that your digestion, that all the food that you ate is digested and that you don't go to bed with a very full stomach, because then that can interfere with your sleep and interrupt your sleep. And we all know how important sleep is for fat loss and for building muscle and for preserving muscle. So these are some basics, I would say, rules, nutritional rules / guidance, regardless if you're dieting or not. So again, calorie deficit, regular protein feedings, and then some basic nutritional guidance. The next thing that we have is cardio. when dieting and when focusing on losing body fat. If you want to use cardio as a tool, and I will again make a separate video about this and what cardio is good. I wouldn't say that any is good or bad, but what kind of cardio you should do if you want to focus on fat loss. Always prioritize weights and lifting weights, but if you want to do cardio, do some sort of low intensity cardio, and ideally post workout or on your rest days. So what I was doing last year when I was dieting, I remember I was on the bike. I was in like bike intervals, and I can't remember how many times exactly per week I was doing cardio, but it doesn't really matter because everything is very person dependent. So we have cardio, always choose low intensity when dieting if you want to use cardio as a tool, but yeah, I'll make a separate video about this. And then something that I love doing with all of my clients, having planned diet breaks and refeed days. Again, I will make a separate video about this, but how do you go about a diet break and or a refeed day, and what is the difference? A diet break is usually can last anywhere between 3 days to even 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And a refeed days would be 1 or 2 days where you bring your calories, when you increase your carbs and you bring your calories back to your maintenance calories. We increase carbs to help with performance at the gym and to replenish your glycogen in your muscles. Very, very, very underrated and very not used as often as it should, in my opinion, but I will make a separate video about how to set up your macros and calories when doing a diet break or having refeed days. Then I also added scales and progress photos. If you want to use the scales as a way of measuring your progress, then make sure that you understand that per every 1 gram of carbs that we consume, our body will store anywhere between 3 to 4 grams of water. So when you step on the scales, if you've had a higher carb dinner or a higher carb day the previous day, you will hold on to more water. So instead of stepping on the scales randomly, always step on the scales at the same time every single day in the morning or whenever. For most accuracy, I was doing that in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then you check your weekly average. But I would rather use progress photos. God, I have so many progress photos from my dieting phase. Always use progress photos because they will give you a better representation of what is actually happening in terms of your body composition. The scales will go up and down, so if you want to use the scales, check what is your weekly average. But I would highly, highly recommend that you use progress photos. Then I also added consistency, patience, and great routine, because routine is absolutely everything. So these are just some very basic guidelines, but I really wanted you to understand that if your goal is to lose body fat, calorie deficit is what you need. You will not lose body fat unless if you are in a calorie deficit. So what I did last year was I created a calorie deficit throughout my nutrition, my calorie intake. I had like 4 to 5 meals per day. I can't remember exactly, but I was having regular protein feedings. I always stick to these nutritional guidelines. Use cardio as a tool. I was having planned diet breaks and planned refeed days. I was very consistent with my calorie intake. I was very patient, and I had a very great routine, and I used both scales and progress photos as a way of measuring my progress. But again, you can choose. If stepping on scales freaks you out, you don't have to weigh yourself every single day. You can remove the stress from weighing yourself every single day. And this is just very basic, and this is something that I want everyone to understand. So if you guys have any questions, I'll make separate videos about all of this in the future. But if you have any questions about fat loss or anything, please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that this was helpful. And if it was, make sure to leave this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you!